guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video called History Summarized Scotland. This is from a channel called Overly Sarcastic Productions. Okay, so I don't think I know that much about Scotland, so I'm excited to learn more about this country. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
In researching this video, I very quickly learned a valuable lesson about how little the Scots mess around. Okay, I thought, the Scots and the English hate each other, sure, but it can't be that bad, honestly.
No, it is that bad.
So I took a little peruse to see how many times the two actually fought each other, and sweet Mother Mary, that is a lot of Scotland! Yeah. Who hurt you?
England.
Trick question. England. So be warned, the Scots throughout history are every bit as bonkers as they come across on Twitter. To find out why, let's do some history. Around 2,000 years ago, Scotland was inhabited by various tribes of Pictish Celts, living up north, herding, and minding their own business. So when the Roman Empire swaggered up to try and conquer them, they gave those Romans a walloping so bad that Emperor Hadrian built a wall just to make sure that nobody ever tried to conquer them again.
Oh, really?
Essentially,
I just don't think you can do this one. I've been an assassin for a while now. What makes you think, oh, get that shit out of here, you're right.
So even though these original Celts
Boba?
weren't anything like modern Scots, it is refreshing to see the national character demonstrated so well at such an early stage.
Where do you
Rome
think they
eventually
came
collapsed,
from?
but Europe reintroduced itself to Scotland via Christianity and Anglo-Saxon migrations, which coalesced through the 7th century into a few main groups. For our purposes, the most relevant two are the Picts and the Scoti, where we get the name Scotia, aka Scotland.
Oh,
In
I'm surprised it was only like a small part around here in the Highlands. I would assume it was like they were bigger, since, you know, they take the name from it.
3. Kenneth MacAlpin united the Scots and Picts in order to create the Kingdom of Alba. The early kingdom had to deal with the Vikings and the English in the 800s and 900s as land from every corner was
That's a
getting
lot to deal
yoinked.
with.
But beyond outside threats, there were also constant internal fisticuffs over the crown. The quintessential example of the early Scottish king is Macbeth, whom hereafter shall be referred to exclusively as MacBoy because that play is
Why?
haunted and I'm not looking for trouble. Trouble is,
Why is that play haunted? It's just a play. What?
nearly everything you might know about him from Shakespeare is wrong.
Oh,
Here's why.
really?
See, the
Didn't
Scottish
he try to like consume by guilt? Didn't he try to take the
crown didn't follow
throne?
a strict succession, but claimants came to debate who was best fit to rule, and this caused constant disputes that escalated into wars. So MacBoy actually killed King Duncan in a battle in the year 1040 and
That's right,
ruled for the
yeah.
next 17 years peacefully, generously, and successfully. In
Oh,
1057, he
17
died in
years.
another battle against Duncan's son Malcolm Canmore, who then assumed the throne. All that stuff about murder conspiracies got added by Scottish historians centuries later, but
Well, maybe it's because who knows? Maybe that it did happen. Then historians like later came up to like some papers and were like, "Oh, you know what? They was a conspiracy theory." But again, like 17 years of ruling, like that's not bad before getting killed. I don't think that's bad.
civil wars over the throne were
More like that time
already a matter
period.
of protocol since the kingdom had gotten started. MacBoy's real-life path was actually quite standard. But speaking of wonky
Well, if you call being immortalized in a play normal standards,
royal
sure.
succession crises, the next decade brought the Norman conquest of England, and William the Conqueror's second son Henry married King Malcolm's daughter. The family relations are confusing now,
okay,
and they
yeah.
stay that way for the next 1,000
They
years,
need,
so I'm
like, a
gonna try to
little
avoid specifics where I
map.
can for the sake of my sanity, but the bottom line is
Okay.
that the King of Scotland
right
exchanged notes
next
with
to
his
it.
sister, the Queen of England, about culture and statecraft. So in the following 2 centuries, Scotland picked up some Norman tricks, like a central bureaucracy, a church hierarchy, and a curious new language derived from the Norman French, called Scots. The native Gaelic was still the dominant language in
Oh.
the Highlands, especially,
Oh, they spoke Gaelic. Okay, so it wasn't that's interesting.
but the lowlands trended slowly towards the customs of their anglicized southern neighbors. The 11 and
Is
1200s
that why the lowlands and the highlands are constantly like there's a lot of like cultural differences, and because people like constantly they are at a war, friendly war with each other? Is that
saw
why?
a steady back and forth between Scotland and England along the borders in Northumbria, but not a whole lot of drama. Until, however, the King of Scotland died in 1286 without a
many
clear
years of
heir,
peace?
and rather than have all 13
200?
possible cousins duke it out the old-fashioned way, they called in the English king to mediate the dispute.
Why would they
which,
call the English
I don't
king?
know, seems like kind of a short-sighted and terrible idea.
Seems like a- yes.
Unsurprisingly, King Edward installed the weakest, most pliable
How
puppet.
come, like, I feel like this was, like, bad planning on their part? It's like, what would I call the English king? Like, let's sort it out between
Who
ourselves.
would let him treat Scotland like a vassal state. And when even that
What a
pushover got
surprise.
fed up with forfeiting Scottish land, paying tribute, and kneeling to English superiority, King Edward invaded Scotland, dethroned the king, and yoinked the Scottish coronation stone back to Westminster, dragging Scotland
they-
firmly under the English heel.
took it
This
out.
was, frankly, terrible, so the
Of
Scots
course.
duly rebelled against England under the command of the famous William Wallace, who won a victory at
that's
the
what it
Battle of
was.
Stirling Bridge in 1297 but lost horrendously at Falkirk the next year and was later
Hmm.
executed by England and paraded around Scotland in pieces. Quick fun
Well,
fact,
that's bad.
of the many reasons that the movie Braveheart sucks, the blue war paint that everybody's wearing is about 1,000 years out of style for
Oh,
this.
it's because it's a Scottish flag. Oh my god, I can't believe I never realized this. They have the Scottish flag painting on their faces.
Gods. I mean, come on, that kind of anachronism is like dressing the cast of The Godfather in togas. It was after Wallace died that Robert the Bruce took up the mantle of Guardian of Scotland. He had to kill a rival claimant to earn his title, but he also earned an excommunication from the Pope because apparently
Why?
murdering somebody in a church is impolite
church.
and a mortal sin.
That explains it.
Whatever. He was defeated early by Edward in 1306 and went into hiding for a year before returning to win the Battle of Loudon Hill. From
Oh, but
there,
this
he
is a
stomped
year
out
in
local
hiding.
rivalries and united
This
Scotland
isn't that
fully
bad-
against
that
the
bad.
English at the decisive Battle of Bannockburn in 1314. Though the
Bannockburn?
treaties weren't signed for another 15 years,
those
Robert
names.
the Bruce won Scotland 3 centuries of independence in that battle. Quick OS pro tip, skip Braveheart but watch The Outlaw King. It's better and way more accurate. So having fulfilled his dreams for his kingdom, Robert died the next year, but this was exceptionally poor.
Okay, this is like a monkey's paw situation. Like, we'll grant you your wish, but then you'll die. It's like, okay, well, if I had known that, maybe, probably he would have sacrificed himself. But it's funny that, oh, you take it and you can just wallow in how good things are for just 1 year. Great.
Poor timing and really unfortunate in the long run because the throne passed to a series of useless kings from the House of Stuart for the next several
Useless?
decades. Through
Well,
the
that's
13 and
harsh.
1400s, Scotland had no real leadership, so the local lords started throwing hands, or more accurately,
Like the
clans.
clans?
In this case, the warring states were actually the dozens of clans scattered across the lowlands and highlands.
Okay.
Mercifully, England had just
I wonder how the clan situation, like, how did they work? Like, do you belong to a clan? Like, a clan is your family, right? Is it like your last name or something? Like, do you just belong to a clan forever? Like, I want to know so badly what's the deal
gotten
with
sucked
that.
into the 100 Years' War with France, so Scotland was free to be its own antagonist the way God intended. And although the Stuart clan still held the crown, other families like the Douglas clan were regularly challenging them for land and power. Some progress
Oh,
came
okay.
with King James I in 1406, who sent 12,000 Scotsmen to fight with France against England in the 100 Years' War, winning
This is like a classic of example of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like, yeah, well, you're fighting England? Yeah, sure, what do you
big and
need?
returning home in a strong position to consolidate many of the clans under his crown and reform the kingdom. Unfortunately, he got
Hmm.
assassinated and it was right back to the seesawing balance of power between kings, regions,
Chaos all
lords, and
time.
clans. Even after
Kings
James,
getting
the Highlanders
murdered.
still largely spoke Gaelic and paid little heed to the culture or politics of the anglicized royal court in the lowlands. The
I wonder if it's because obviously again you're like that far away. It's a huge country, and the daily your daily life is so different from everything that's happening like in the lowlands. In this case, places that are so far away from you, and they also speak another language, and you probably see them as they've been anglicized, so they're not even Scottish at this point. So it's like I don't really care about like their daily things and there's the stuff that's happening like way too many miles. Because again it's like the distance was too big. So it's like I don't really care about what's happening miles and miles, from me. I care about like my daily trappings. So maybe that's what was happening back then.
king could say whatever he wants down in Edinburgh, but unless he personally marches up to Inverness to tell Clan
Why would I
Fraser
care
in
what's
person to
happening?
pay their taxes, it's not going to happen. And one king even tried that, but still nothing happened. It's just
Exactly.
all very Game of Thronesy
like,
for a couple
I don't care.
centuries. And I mean, heck, it's at this time that the War of the Roses is raging on just down the street.
It's like such a disconnected thing that it's like I don't really care what's happening down in Edinburgh or whatever it is that you guys are dealing with. Like we're very up north. Like I don't care.
And you know what? Since it's just a big
Oh, and yeah, and what's up with like in the war during the War of the Roses? What was the deal with Scotland in those like in that time period? Like were they were taking
mess
sides?
anyway.
What was
I'm
happening?
gonna speed round through the next 300 years, so bear
Okay, we're
with me
skipping
and
it.
let's get ready for a game of Monarchy is Volatile. Let's meet our players.
Sure is.
One king was really cool and helped reform the government to work for more of Scotland while making Edinburgh into a Renaissance capital of learning and culture. One queen got the
Great.
short end of the stick when Scotland's
Oh,
parliament
yeah.
voted to convert to Protestantism while she was on vacation in France, and then she got the shorter end of the
then
stick
she
when
died.
England imprisoned her for 2 decades and then executed her.
killed.
Her son played his cards just right and inherited the throne of England from his cousin, the childless Elizabeth, and then became
Well, but I wonder if it's like, yeah, I got the last laugh. Like, revenge is a dish best served cold. Maybe you killed her, but at the end, my line ended up on the throne. So, was it all that bad? I'm
king
laughing.
of England and Scotland.
great.
His son was so inconceivably bad at being king that his abuses of power brought England and Scotland into open rebellion for entirely separate reasons, and his reign ended with the British Isles locked in 12 years of civil war before everybody called a do-over and gave the crown back to his son. One king became king because Parliament literally invited
To do-overs, and like when it comes to monarchy, we chose wrong. We want another king.
him from the Netherlands to replace their current monarch, and then he proceeded to strangle
Apparently
Scottish
he could.
trading rights. And the last queen on our list tried to be a pal by offering Scotland a national union with England to open up trade avenues in exchange for the bargain price of nearly all of their sovereignty. I'd originally gone
remember
way
one
in
well.
depth about how all of this stuff went down in my first draft, but then I realized, you know what? Royal politics is dumb and confusing, and I kind
not
of hate it
dumb,
more than
but it is
anything else in
confusing.
history. So I'm gonna skip through it. Yeah. So I did. One standout event from the mid-1500s is when the King of England tried to drive a wedge between a long-standing alliance between Scotland and France in the hopes to endear Scotland to their southern English neighbors. They
do
did
that
this by
forever.
pillaging the lowlands and burning Edinburgh to the ground. You may find that this is a bad way to make new friends. The Scots came to call
You
the
would think
7-year
they'd
campaign
learn
the
this.
rough wooing, as they did not appreciate being
Rough
bullied
wooing?
into love. And this sentiment
The name is really funny for something that it's
persisted
serious.
for centuries, way up until the Act of Union in 1707. Scotland was suspicious of the Queen's offer of partnership, and while they'd get one metric British Empire out of the deal in the long run, the immediate result was England deciding they now had a constitutional right to treat Scotland like a colony.
Oh no.
As you can see,
Yeah.
this is kind of a recurring problem, and it led to 2 revolts for Scottish independence in 1715 and in 1745.
Oh, like
Both
Jacobite
failed, but the
Rebellion and
second one
everything?
spooked England into being slightly less despicable about everything. In the next century
Well,
and a half
at
following
least
the
something.
rebellions, things turned remarkably for the better as the Enlightenment came north. Writers like Walter
Ooh.
Scott and Robert Burns helped rekindle the Scottish identity, and thinkers like
I wonder, like, what do you mean, like, they were rekindling Scottish identity? Was it because they've been probably anglicized at that point, and they were feeling as if, like, what it doesn't mean being Scottish? Obviously, you're going through a period of so many, like, centuries of war, especially, again, with England. So maybe you're thinking, like, what does it all mean to, like, be Scottish? Like, what does it mean to, like, belong to this country? I don't know. It's just, like, a very interesting situation, I think, they were putting themselves in. Like, again, especially, I think, for other people. Like, who knows what they were thinking back then?
Adam Smith and David Hume radically changed European perspectives on rational thought and economics. Hume claimed that reason was the core of human thought, and Smith described the benefits of letting people act in their own self-interest. This all sounds very profound, but don't be fooled. The clear Scottish subtext to these ideas are, the English don't make a damn lick of sense, and we'd be better off making our own decisions. And you can't expect a Scottish Enlightenment thinker to not bury snide comments at England under 2 tons of hard academic theory. Though Scotland
Oh,
had
really?
long been an educational powerhouse, in the following
So again, like, the hate runs deep.
2 centuries, they also became the industrial heart of the British Empire, producing such famous doodads as the steam engine, the telephone, radar, a mechanical television, and also most of the
That's
ships in the
amazing.
Imperial Royal Navy. Nice. Other happy beneficiaries of the 18th and 19th centuries were the cities of Glasgow and Edinburgh, which built up substantially in the Georgian neoclassical style, and they just look really damn pretty. Funny thing
They
about
look
the Edinburgh
gorgeous.
Castle is instead of firing off 12 cannon shots to mark the passing of noon like the English do, they just wait 1 hour and save 11 rounds. That is so Scottish. Quickly approaching the modern day now,
Oh.
Scottish attitudes towards the Union grew more
I love that. It's like, let's not waste it.
suspicious as England seems to care less and less by the decade about what happened up north, and the hard-forged British identity faded with time.
It's the same thing, again, because they had, like, we have our own thing going on. We don't really care what's happening, like, up in the Highlands. Like, we have daily troubles
and the decline
here.
of the British Empire. After years of campaigning, Scotland gained greater autonomy and the right to hold their own parliament in 1999. And the first words spoken there were,
It's crazy that the fact that it took them that long, I would have thought it came a little bit earlier. 1999, like, that seems like, that's so recent. That was like 25, no, more than 25 years ago. No, around, I can't do math. But again, less than 30 years ago, it's crazy.
quote, "The Scottish Parliament, adjourned on the 25th of March, 1707, is hereby reconvened." And if that is not some big Scotland energy right there,
I kinda wanna
then wrap
cry.
me in a tartan plaid and throw me in Loch Ness, because I know what is. Now, if you want to jump into the tumultuous world of medieval Scottish murder kings, then you've got to go for Shakespeare's Macbeth. Thank you for watching. Now, you should know that the temptation to do this entire video in a thick Scottish brogue was too high. I cannot tell you how close I was. Seeing as I am half Scottish, it's only fair that I should sound the part.
Oh,
so I
okay.
hope you enjoyed this look into the history of Scotland.
I was like, this is
and I'll
venturing
see
on
you in the
offensive,
next
but no,
video.
he's Scottish, so it's fine. Okay, like this, it kind of made me want to cry at the end a little bit. I think like it was just very lovely. Obviously the history is like the video is very funny and all of that. But I think if you really do put it into perspective, like how of a strong nation I think Scotland is, that I think, obviously this can be applied to so many other countries. But I think the fact that they're still standing, like, it's just a testament of how, like, strong will they are and how, and again, this is, I think not a lot of places can say, because even, England has tried to like, basically conquer them and tried, I think they even, they were successful at one point. But still the fact that the Scottish identity, it's something that still remains, after how many years, like 1,000 years, it's something separate from the English, it's something separate from, the Irish, it's just something separate. I think it's just incredible how they managed to actually, again, maybe it has been rekindled at some point, because I don't really know, and by the looks of it, there came, a time period in which, there was a lot of work to be done to sort of like reclaim that identity, because it was kind of like getting lost in the history of it all, which is not surprising. I think that's what would have been like the normal thing. Of course, they would have lost, and eventually they would have caved in, and everything had to become anglicized, because of course, like, you're right next door to them. They're constantly, they are seen as, they were like the big powerful one, that they were trying to overcome you, and they were trying constantly to overcome you and to rule you. So it's kind of like a miracle that they still have their own accent, their own, I can't be considered another language. No, it's just an accent. Obviously everyone has their own dialect, but I still think some things are in Gaelic, or again, they have, I think in Scotland, a lot of the names, they're not specifically, again, they're not English. So, and even their accent, I think it's just like, so that probably comes from that. It's just like a lovely thing to see, like, yes, they've managed to overcome so many things. And again, maybe this could also be applied to so many other nations, but not specifically to the point of like the relation that they have with England. It's just something very specific that not a lot of countries have, because obviously other countries may have their relation with England, but it's in a different way. Even the colonies and all the other countries, they have their own relationship with them. But in the Scottish case, it's just something very particular to them. And obviously their own case is very specific. But I love that they fought so incredibly hard to just maintain, what it means to be Scottish. They obviously, that's why, and you obviously, once you know the history, you can understand why, because I know that some people are very like, when they see someone, they listen to someone speak or something, and they're like, oh, automatically people, in other parts of the world, they just automatically go, oh, like, you're British. It's like, no, and once you know the history, you would know why it's so offensive for someone to tell a Scottish person, oh, you're English. It's like, no, I'm not English, I'm Scottish, and you would know why, of course, it's not like a hate, because it's not that they're killing, they're going around and are killing rampage and like killing Londoners. No, it's not about that, but I think it's because they worked so hard to have that identity, to keep it alive, to reclaim it, that it's just, like, why is it so offensive for someone to be like, oh, you're just from England. It's like, no, I'm from Scotland. It's a completely other thing. It's a completely different culture as well. And of course, they're going to have similarities with England. Of course, again, they're located in the same island. They're still part of the United Kingdom. So of course, they're going to have some similarities, because obviously that they're different cultures at the end of the day. And it's just so lovely to see how everything sort of joined in this one macro thing, but at the same time, everything, so they're so little detailed, and they have their own specific things that are very particular to each one of them, that is just a lovely thing to see. It's like, yeah, everything's sort of together, but not really. Like, at the same time, it's not super together. Everyone still gets to maintain their own identity, which is lovely. It's like, yes, all the differences are really what make up a culture, because otherwise you'll get cannibalized by the bigger culture, basically, which has happened time and time again. So I think the fact that that the people are still so proud to be, and you also understand why they're so proud of being Scottish. It's like, yeah, of course, and if you've gone through and you know the history and you know how much they had to fight to actually maintain that identity, and it's not always about being strong-willing and again about like it's the want and it's about a little splash of luck, because I think some other people just couldn't really do that throughout history, and it wasn't necessarily because they didn't want to. It's because again there's something that is not necessarily that you actually want to be, you know, you actually want this to happen. It's really not enough. It's like, yeah, well, you have to have the desire, and also a lot of things have to, you know, combine in order to actually achieve this. So again, they were like so lucky to be able to maintain this. And even then, it's kind of crazy to me how, again, they reclaimed their Scottish identity, which I would love to know what exactly it consisted of back in those days, and how people were feeling back in like in the 1700s, it's in the 1800s, probably like around the 1800s, of what it meant to be, of being, you know, what does it mean to be Scottish? Like, what does this mean? Especially, I think it's like the whole thing between the Highland culture and the Lowlands culture, which I know still it's a little bit of that as well in this day and age. But obviously back in those days, so it's probably a more marked difference, and probably they were thinking, you know, like your neighbors, your Lowland neighbors, they were being seen as, oh, you know, they've been, you know, you don't really, you know, the cousins, the lowland cousins, like, they don't really speak basically the same language as we speak. And probably in the lowlands, they were thinking like, well, we kind of have to like get used to like, to this, and Highland culture is something completely different. Do they still feel like Scottish? Did they want it to become English? I don't know. I would love to know, because I find it very interesting. But again, after all of that, and after they were able to sort of reclaim this country and be, yes, you know, what it doesn't mean to be Scottish. But then, you know, the parliament was restored in 1999, which is a crazy thing for me to actually think of, because I thought that it happened a little bit earlier. It's like, oh my God, you know, you're telling me that these people like fought for like hundreds of years in order to have their own parliament and to be recognized as, again, a separate identity. Like, it's just like crazy to me, because I thought it happened, you know, 100 years before this. It's like 1999. That was yesterday, basically. Like, again, in the great scheme of things, that was yesterday. So it's still crazy. And again, you have to give it out to them, because it just speaks very highly of their other people. And I think Scottish culture is just a lovely, lovely thing. And I'm happy to see that, yes, it has survived through so many things, and it's still alive. And I love that, basically. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.